Welcome back to the Glint Standard. Today we're talking about integrated marketing. What's the big idea? So what's the big idea, right? This goes a lot of different ways and get pretty in depth. You start with a big idea, and that can be confusing to a lot of people. It means a lot of different things to a lot of people. But then you talk about the integration piece of it, and what does that really mean, right? Depending on who you talk to, that can mean a lot of different things based on their specialty, right?
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about what it means, for our agency. And I think a lot of agencies do believe this is the right path and take this path. But maybe not everybody in each agency really understands what that truly means.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think for our agency, when we're talking about integrated marketing, it's going beyond individualized tactics.
Like project work or?
No. So like channels, right? Okay. The old school media buying, right? You would have your media mix. That's kind of how we're looking at that, right? It's not just TV. It's not just print. It's not just radio, and now you add in all the digital and social channels on top of that, right? Instead of having these individual campaigns running or these individual, tactics that you're really using, instead you're looking at that as an overall strategy, and you're going beyond just, I want to run Facebook ads that lead to this page that do these things, right?
Yeah, so we're doing that, but we're also running a commercial.
Right.
And we're driving the commercial to our social media. We're driving our commercial to our blog to get more information, and tracking all of that through codes and phone numbers and things like that as well. And that's truly getting that integration piece. Talk a little bit too, because I think this is a big piece of integration too, is marketing automation is a pretty big thing right now, right? And you talk about capturing leads, and you can automate that really well. It takes a lot to pull it off. But if you get someone's email, if you will, right? What can happen with that? Because that starts to integrate into a sales perspective as well. And I think it's important to understand integration isn't just about producing work.
Yeah. So in today's world, where we're now at with technology, right? I don't know when people will be watching this. It could be 2 years from now and all that will change. But
probably. Yeah.
But when you look at it where it is today, right? We've gone beyond just a CRM, right? Now there's marketing automation, and now we're also starting to see certain platforms like Facebook. When you get into very specific industries like healthcare, you can't share that information. You can't collect the information of that person. So what we're seeing is this shift happening where companies want to control their own data. Right? I want to have that person's email address. I want to have their cell phone number. I want to have all of this information about them so that I can use that to market to them, still reach them, and be effective. But I can't do that through some of the social media platforms anymore because of the limitations, right?
Yeah, the compliance piece of it, right?
And so what we're seeing is that shift happening. So now you need a platform that houses that, but goes beyond, right? It's not just a CRM. It is a marketing automation platform. So you're able to do email campaigns. You're able to do texting campaigns. You're able to do, as you said, starting to go down the sales side. Okay, well now here's a running task list of the people we need to reach out to.
Yeah, and take it out of that side of it where there is no compliance, right?
Right.
You're a window tint company. We'll use that as an example, right? You can collect a lot more information, but if you control the data and you have some information, you can have, I'm going to call it a widget, go out and find more information about that person to start personalizing, customizing your marketing, putting it all in there.
Absolutely.
And tracking how they're starting to react to things, which is very powerful.
Well, it goes back to, the things that we're using in the back end of that are not new, right? Persona targeting, right? Looking at funnel targeting. Are they top of funnel? Are they bottom of the funnel? There's even a wheel concept where you're constantly reaching out, right? All of those are not new. It's just the platform that we're using them in has really started to be narrowed down.
So that one platform helps with integration, but then going back to the big idea, right? All of this starts with having the big idea of what's my unique creative approach to capture and use consistently across all these platforms, and also have my brand consistency across it all as well. Right. And that's where it truly becomes difficult, right?
Well, I think that's the next step, right? We often talk about when we were talking about how does a marketing director take Facebook advertising to the next step. When you start to look as a company, what's the next step that we can really be doing? Brand consistency across the board really helps you appear much bigger than you are, or it helps you reinforce a touch, right? So personalized marketing, right? For a small credit union, that could be hugely beneficial,
right?
Because now you're not talking to just Mark, you're talking to Mark in an email specific to him with a website message.
Right.
Next time Mark comes onto the website going, hey Mark, we've noticed that you've been checking out our checking accounts and would love to talk to you. Here's our phone number, give us a call.
Spin that over to a massive company, a massive bank as well, and personalize. It's just as powerful because you're big. Consumers know you're big.
Yeah.
Then you start to personalize in there about here's some things we've noticed and trends we've noticed you've been doing with your accounts. I think there's a better product for you. I'd love to talk to you about that.
Yeah.
And you start to dig in that way too. But you just have to pay attention. There's a lot of it.
We do.
How does the integration piece work? So we've got the brand consistency. We're working through that. We have the big wow idea, right? The big idea. The idea is I want somebody to see us this way and to know that we're offering something very unique to a certain type of demographic usually that's going to be very wow, right? It's I want you to know what's behind the front door. Maybe that's the campaign idea, right? So everything you do now, digital, traditional, be it a TV show, a TV commercial, a radio spot, a social media ad, it all has to relate to that what's behind the big door, right? What's behind the front door, however you want to paint that, right? All that stuff has to start to work and reinforce that big idea. And each medium and platform has to produce on its own and have results on its own. But the idea of the integration is it's also making all the other things you do more powerful. Right? And that's where that minimum of 3 points of integration is key to being successful. Otherwise, you're doing one-off stuff, and the results they're just rarely that great. You have to get pretty lucky there.
Yeah, and I think that's where you talk about and touch on some of the advanced techniques, right? So even taking print pieces that have a call tracking number that if anybody's called that number, now we're showing them a Facebook ad and we're doing those types of things, right? Where you're having additional follow-up, additional touch points, really reinforces the campaign. But I think what takes that even further is to now look at this is our one goal, right? And how are we having all of these pieces reach that one goal, right? Whether that be, and it's happened for years, people just haven't been tracking it, of they went to the website, then they saw my Facebook ad, then they called my phone number, and we really don't know where they came from.
Well, we also know that people want to feel like they've been touched before too, and we've touched this on a different episode before where we evaluate customers and they think they've seen some really awesome commercials by this company, and this company's never made a commercial.
Right.
So you have some of that in your favor. I think one of the things you talked about is important. Everything's driving towards one goal, right? Now, each individual medium will have its own specific goal as well,
right?
But it should be driving to the overall goal, and getting that overall goal and that big idea, that's why that's so important to get that up front before you even start.
Well, and I think that's where having an agency really, really helps. You have huge benefit at that point because a true agency is not looking at just Facebook or just digital and okay, we can only do this thing, right? We're looking at that more integrated strategy, and we're going, okay, this is your ultimate goal. This is great for brand awareness, which is a top of funnel, activity, but that will then allow us to retarget to them on a digital front, really
and trigger on these marketing levels, right?
And we change the message, right? We're still keeping consistent with the campaign, but we change the call to action, so that way we can really drive action.
Right.
So.
And it's changed a lot over the years. It becomes much more complex and complicated, and you have to compete. That's a big piece of this, right?
Absolutely.
But what you can fall into is technology is great, platforms are great, new things are great, but if you lose the basics of marketing 101, you're falling short. And I think a lot of people do tend to spend a lot of money and fall a little bit short. And it's frustrating, and that's why they start to lose the value of an agency, right? Well, I'm not seeing the results here, and it's because maybe you're not doing the right things. Maybe you're not integrating those 3 things, or you can't afford to integrate 3 things. Well, then take a step back. Let's work on these things. Let's build the budget so we can get there, and make a plan for getting where you need to be versus give us some money. Absolutely, we'll do that for you. Well, the results here, well, if we add these things, we can do it, but it's more money. A client doesn't want to hear that.
Right.
You have to have that upfront conversation about what you're asking is probably not realistic. We can get there. This is truly what it's going to take to get there. And then the sticker price, sometimes it's, wow, that's crazy. I can't afford all that. It's, yes, but this is what you need.
Right.
So let's talk about how we get there then. And you're problem solving at that point, right? You're starting to help. And that's why those conversations are so important.
Yeah. So we'd love to hear from you. Do you currently have an integrated marketing strategy? Do you not? Is that something that you've ever heard of? Right?
Could be.
Maybe you haven't heard of integrated marketing before. So leave us a comment below. If you're watching, leave us a like, a share. If you're on your podcast, just share it out as well. We'd love to have that viewership and listenership, I guess is the term. So also, if you have any questions for us, agency@theglintstandard.com, best way to reach us. We do answer those emails, and you might even see it as a next podcast topic. So
Yeah, absolutely.
thank you guys so much.